Please welcome to the stage, Mike Zakarian.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We got George here. We got a little Sorare Sharp. So I'm going to share Flolian's message real quick in the chat, not only because, one, I'm happy you're here, Flolian, but the person who won the most recent giveaway is from Turkey. And I know this is not Turkish, but because I'm seeing this in German, he sent me a link to his Sorare page so that I could trade with him, and it showed up all in Turkish, and I have given enough stuff away that I knew how to do it, even though it wasn't in English. But I truly thought I was having a stroke initially when I look up, and I'm like, wait, these aren't American words; these aren't in the English language.
That's a great one.
But good to be back. We took last week off for the American holiday. And George, listen, man. I know we have a few issues here with scoring updates, but it feels like the George heater continues.
I'm gonna put a temporary pause on that napalm of Sorare if we're gonna go down that heater route. I think I was 10th, and for me, whenever I wake up in the morning, I'll always check Sorare scores if there's been games on, if it's the MLS on the football side or if it's on the NBA on the basketball side.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that because I always check NBA results first, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have him in my Sorare teams. He should have a nice score, and then I'll check Sorare. And as I'm going down, I'm like, oh yeah, he ticked, he went off, and it came in. And I was 8th in the week for the in season, so I was I've got done pretty well. And I wasn't anywhere near the top. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm $25 or $30 or whatever it is. Yeah. And it said 10th and it $1,200. And I was like, okay, that's just wrong. And then I had stuff to do in the day. Obviously, I've got work. Stuff to do in the day. And then I got I checked 1 o'clock and I come out and then I had people just tagging me and being like, oh, congrats, dude. Well done for winning 1,200.
I was one of them.
It's definitely not real. Yeah. I was like, it's definitely not going to hold. It's definitely an issue. And then lo and behold, I think it will get changed soon. But,
yeah. It was kind of wild too. And I finished, I think, supposedly, allegedly 170th, I think, which I still was happy with. But it was funny because I think I was 140th going into the last game week. And I dropped, I think, 250 over the weekend. Right. And that's I think that was I think my lowest going into it was 200. So I was like, oh, that's good. That's 50 extra points. And then I dropped 30 spots. And I was like, oh, man. But I did, Luka, who hadn't really performed for IST people yet, had a monster game. And I think a lot of people who had been playing Luka, that was one of their droppable scores, right? So that made sense a little bit to me. I guess before we talk about the scoring updates, I just kind of want to put a bow on some of the IST stuff because, and I know supposedly you have been pretty successful with it. We still don't know yet, but I guess now that it's wrapped up, how are we feeling about the experience so far throughout the entirety of the IST?
So I think this as a whole was a big win in terms of all of the things that are right now that to moan about on Sorare NBA. And I think some of it is fair. And I think other parts of it is is probably unjust. But of all of the things that is currently going on in the start of season 2, I think in-season tournament was a big win. The month-long schedule, the sort of the format of that each week, if you have a bad off week, it doesn't matter. And you can sort of chip away at progression throughout that month is something that they should look at. And that they have done it on the other sides of the platform. But I think it's something that should be here to stay. And I know that obviously the in-season tournament isn't going to last all season, but when they bring back those special competitions like the U23s, the East and West Conference stuff, maybe put that as the month long and then just change it up each week, or have in season, or have that's what it should be for me.
I really like that idea. I had posed in the Shot Tank group chat that we have. I was like, what if they just did under 23 for like a full month? And TST immediately was like, no, instead that's like too aggressive. But what if like for a month it was like 1 week it's under 23, 1 week it's over 48, just so you could play LeBron. Or just but like using those wild cards. I thought that was a really good idea. I feel similarly. I mean, again, I'm like pro more tournaments, more reasons to use some of our cards. And I really enjoyed the game theory that came with it, where it was like, okay, well, I know I punt a couple of weeks on this. So like, is this a week that I just say, hey, I'm punting it and I focus on the rare champion or the limited champion or whatever? I really enjoyed that. And I know we've talked about this before as well. I think one of the things that they really did well that I initially did not think was going to be a home run. I really loved the idea. Like I saw Gnome share his lineup before last night's action, and shout out Gnome in the chat. And it was like 4 limiteds and a rare. And I just really love the smoothing out of like those ranges where, like, you know, maybe if you're really only in the limited streets, you can still participate in a bigger tournament like this. Now I know the NBA was like pushing for third parties to do initiatives like this to have like a big prize. I mean, they weren't saying like do a 100K prize pool, but like I know that's part of the reason why the prize pool was a little elevated. But I would love to see something similar, right, where even if it's a lesser prize pool, I don't know, find other. Really love the idea of doing more cumulative stuff.
I think it's just in terms of, again, each week necessarily right now, if we stick to the current format where it's champion and contender, which I think is your sort of home, your bread and butter, this is your staples. I think if you introduce something on that month-long format, it encourages me to go out and potentially look at buying new cards. Whereas currently, the guys in my gallery, rarely do I now need to go out and go and acquire anyone else, because I've got such a collection over playing season 1 and the start of season 2, where I bought some people in any case, that I don't need to add. So I feel like, and I know that people get sometimes annoyed that they limit it. So like, oh, you have to use the new season cards now.
Right.
But there has to be like an ebb and flow to these things. So if that's the limitation on it, then so be it. But I feel like there needs to be the progression for it. And I think that the month-long tournaments are a way for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do think if I could push back a little on like using the year 2 cards for the tournaments, I think if you drop that number from 3 to 2,
yeah,
I think I would appreciate that a little bit more, because especially if you're rotating the types of tournaments you're doing for like a cumulative contest, if it's under 23, Eastern Conference only, Western Conference only, that's already going to be like an initiative to go out and buy stuff on the marketplace, right? I don't know if you necessarily need to make it be a specific year. Like, I don't know if you need to do that. I'm sure they still will, because it makes their numbers look better. It's like, oh, dude, you see how much more sales we've had in year 2 versus year 1. I get it. I get why it looks like that and why they would do it. But I hope, I don't know. I hope they throw us a bone. But I agree with you. I think ultimately this was like a pretty big win. I've really enjoyed sweating it, which is now going to transition into a nitpick that I've got. And this is more than a nitpick, because a nitpick sounds like, oh yeah, just have some constructive feedback. It is like, in my opinion, and maybe you have a better vantage point on this because you right now are in 10th place. It's unacceptable to not have an updated leaderboard. Like that, in a lot of ways, is your one job, to have an updated leaderboard for the sweat. And it's ridiculous that we were like going to third parties to be like, well, maybe So Rare data is actually up to date.
So, I'm definitely not 10th. I think like this is the ultimate thing. First off, I'm definitely not 10th. I'm there by the mistake. So in that sense, I'm probably all for it right now. But yeah, I think that is a sort of right. So I think it will be fine and sorted by whenever they pay rewards.
Sure.
It'll be tomorrow or Friday. But it isn't great that, for example, I know that it was an error, but there's going to be people out there that potentially don't play it as much or don't make content on it and go, oh, damn, I'm 25th. I'm going to win like $500.
Yeah.
And then they log on Friday and it's like 15. And you're like, what on earth has just happened? Like, it's a bad experience for some people.
Well, and
I can fully see your point.
I'll go a step further too. I do a lot of daily fantasy sports, whether it's Underdog, sign up promo code HOLD, or if it's like FanDuel or DraftKings. And one of like the slow dying things of FanDuel, and I'm sure you have platforms over in the UK as well, but one of like the problems that it's so bad for FanDuel is their leaderboard doesn't update regularly. And I think like one of the aspects that's so great about it is why you should download the Sorare app so you can follow along. That's part of the experience, right? Is the sweat, is to know like where you stand. And I know the UI is probably a little bit different because this is a cumulative tournament. It's the first time they've done this, but like you've said, they've done cumulative tournaments before. So just on the the football side of things. So I think that is like something that they really have to hammer out, because that's, it should be updating in real time. Like you should be like, holy shit, LeBron just got like 3 steals and 2 3-pointers in like the last 3 minutes. I wonder where that vaults me up into the standings, because it's just like part of the experience.
Yeah, so I think that in the staple competitions, I can't say that I've ever had an issue or can even remember one from it happening. If I look at live and I see someone score a bucket, it will come through pretty
cool. Yeah, I totally agree.
And everything refreshes in time. I think the issue that they've had with this one is that because it's we'll take the best 5 out of 7, and whatever algo they've got doing it has completely fallen over itself. So it's just one of them things. I don't think it's going to happen again. But it's not a great look. But ultimately, I think it's a very small thing to sort of pick on. Because the overall thing, everyone that plays this game, and if you're watching this live or if you're watching it in tomorrow or whenever, if you're watching Sorare content, you love the platform, you love the game. Everyone should probably agree that the in-season tournament and long format competitions was a great win. And
absolutely, totally agree. And again, if that's like the only thing that because I thought they did a great job with the prize pool. I have like I think they did a good job of making it like pretty top heavy in some ways, where it's like, holy shit, I finished in the top 10. I'm getting $1,200 like that. I think that's fantastic. And then they also like spread it out a little bit towards the end. I thought that was great. I thought the scoring structure was great. I like that it's like 5 of 7. I think that's pretty cool too. Like I think most of it was really, really good. I think it's the best thing. Go ahead.
The best thing for me for it, and I've said this to some of the guys there, is that on the football side, and I'm not sure if it's on the baseball side as well, because I don't play the higher scarcities, but on the football side, you have competitions where you can play rare cards and super rare cards. And they've not had that on the NBA since they took it away within the start. Mm-hmm. And the fact that now you had limited and rare and then super rare and unique, I know that's a different ball game for it, but the fact that you can have the crossover between the two, maybe next time we see just a limited and then a rare and super rare. And then it gives you an excuse to go out and potentially look at buying 1 or 2 super rare cards.
Right.
Because right now, if you want to get into super rare, you need like £2,000-3,000 minimum to even play a contending lineup. And that's at like picking 5 cards that you think will perform for like 2 or 3 weeks. The barrier to entry needs to come down in some of these ones. And like, that's not saying disregard the whole competition and the sort of the monetary value and the scarcity element of them. But there needs to be some sort of ladder progression for me. And that's just the only thing that's missing. And this is long season form. And the long season formats are a potential way of doing that.
I totally agree. I hope we see more of it. Zealy was saying, what about the next IST comp, which I'm assuming you mean like what's the next cumulative one? Is that what you're saying? Or I know they did reference that there was supposed to be, I think that they were going to do something for the elimination round. So do you think we see something for the quarterfinals and finals?
Potentially so. I mean, I don't know. The thing is that they made such a big push with the whole $100,000 in season tournament. Bam! Look at this. Yeah, I'm not sure what then the prizes would follow. Potentially that could be what is coming with the update. Because obviously, I mean, we're probably going to get onto this with other stuff, and we can
pivot to that right now if you want. Yeah,
but like if we're talking about like the product update roadmap, and this was what some of the sort of outcry was on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, the other day in terms of it's been 2 weeks. Then there was another update basically saying we have an update coming. I think that if the new update, when it eventually comes for this, and it brings the club shop or just brings the coins, the rewards, some changes to rare rewards and some changes across the rare structure and everything, if that then comes with the sort of new month-long format of the look, we're doing this for the in-season sort of the finals, then it would look a bit better. But right now, it's just we're in like a limbo phase where we know stuff's coming, but we don't know when and we don't know what.
Yeah, we can pivot to that a little bit too, because I do think that was like a good thing for us to talk about. I do think like I just want to like preface, I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm not someone who's winning regularly. So it's not like, I think it's easy for people who are just crushing rewards to be like, yeah, dude, but the game's the best. And you're like, yeah, no shit, it's the best because you finished 5th 5 times, right? Like I totally get that. I think I've won, I should win a reward this week, and I've won a reward like 2 weeks ago. And I think that's it. And I mean, I did well in the in-season tournament as well, which I like focused on. So like, you know, we'll throw that out there. I do all of that to say, I've been having a really good time and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying making content. I'm enjoing hanging out with you, George.
It sounds like you got a gun to your head behind the camera here.
I know. I love this here.
Still.
I love it. I love it here. I love it. I am those types of announcements. The 2 most recent ones we've got, to me, are like red flags. Like I don't love seeing stuff like that, and I think they're in, and Alex Hooper said this a little bit too, so I want to give him credit because I think he was, you know, he put some good words to it. I do think there's this like, and Top Shot went through this, and that's like my initial background, where there's this quest for transparency and we want to know what's going on, and then there's sometimes like too much transparency. It's like the Wizard of Oz, where you like peek behind the curtain, you're like, oh, this dude's 5'2", man. That's not, that's like, that's not the booming presence I thought we had. And that is a little bit of what we're seeing right now, where it seems like they're covering their ass a little bit by saying like, hey, we're being transparent. We have really cool things coming. Get excited. And then they kick the can down the road a little bit longer, and then you see what happens. So I maybe you disagree with that kind of summation of it, but that's kind of where it's, I don't love that.
So my take on it is that, so it's been 16 days. I was going to do like a really long, deep essay tweet about this and just write everything down. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do a video. And then I was like, actually, I'm not going to do anything, because normally what happens is I'll do this, and then the day later it all happens. So I'm like, I can't be bothered with it. But essentially, I think that it's been 16 days since that initial sort of November product update. Not talking about the season 2 changes that they announced like ages ago now. But I think what's happened is they've gone, shit, the stuff isn't ready, and we don't want to launch it when it's not ready, and it shit, and then have to go back. And then they're panicking, because then the longer it goes on, not panicking per se, but the longer it goes on, right, the more people are like, well, where the hell is this update that you said was coming? Why is it not ready? How is it not ready? This is embarrassing, and all this. But there's a lot of things that can halt progression and halt updates. Mm-hmm. So I think that's happened. And then instead of just giving an update going, guys, it's not ready yet, they've gone, it's coming soon. And just been like that. And that's the thing. And it's an issue because they can't go, we've messed up, because then it doesn't look great on a public sense. I think that's how I'd imagine it happening. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I could be completely wrong.
No,
that's how I see it's happened. And that's just me.
Well, and I think it's fair to point out that like there's no real win for them there, right? Because it's dumb to be like, oh man, just wait 2 weeks from now, get excited. Like that sucks too, but it sucks just as much to be like, hey guys, you know how we said we were going to be like ready to go? We're not ready to go yet. Like because then we'd hammer them for that as well.
I think as well, and I don't want to make this like, because again, people get sort of like, this is so rare, man. This should be 100% professional. We're in this. But also, you've got to remember, there are people that are making this game. Thanksgiving has just happened in America. So there would have been a lot of time of people taking time off beforehand. And I don't want to go into it too much.
It's an international company, though.
Yeah, I know. But like, I think that like whenever these sort of holiday, and we get into that sort of season at Christmas time now, people tend to be out of the office and things are going around. They're like, we'll maybe look at that next year. And like, it does happen in companies wherever you go. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't want to make excuses for them, but I can see that is potentially it. But I'm also in the side of that. You did say these changes would be here for the start of season 2, and we're like nearly in December now. So there kind of has to be a middle ground of like, what on earth's happening?
I think that is what's kind of crazy too, because you're right. 16 days. It is 16 days. It's like just over 2 weeks. And I think that's important to, understand, right? That it feels like it was probably 3 months ago, but it was just over 2 weeks. It is kind of nuts though, thinking about it, where you're like, yeah, but that's 4 so rare game weeks. And it's also the end of the IST. And it's like, wow, man, that is kind of a chunk of time. So like, I do agree with you though. I think Gnome in the chat too, and I kind of want, we've talked about this before, but I do think this is like their biggest issue right now. There's a lot of other things that could be addressed that I don't think have the same impact that this does right now. And I know, again, I know we've chatted about it before, but I think the longer you have people just feeling like they're getting smoked week after week, that is ultimately gonna bang up the sentiment a little bit. And it's tough for it to be in the rare sector too, because I do think the rare sector is so interesting because it's not whales, but it is people who put a little bit more. They probably feel like they have a little bit more at risk. You know what I mean? And so I think it hurts a little bit more.
So, I mean, like, I made the jump to rare properly towards the back end of last season. And then I was like, yeah, now this year I'm going to like really go in on rare and then maybe look at going to super rare. And now it's like right now where the state of rare is, it's in such a weird element because I can't see if I was just, and I'm not sort of advocating this, but if I was just playing as a limited gallery, there is zero reason why I would make the move to rare.
None.
Last year, I was like, yeah, I really want to climb the scarcities and go on it. Right now, I would not even look at rare, which is to me, when I've got like 47 rare cards in my gallery right now and I'm looking at trying to win, is a terrible thought. But I couldn't advocate if someone was like, when I get people now on some of my game week videos, and I appreciate everyone that watches me on my own channel, but if I get people being like, hey, I'm just starting out, what would you recommend? What would I could never tell anybody to play rare in the NBA right now, just because of where it is. And I'm sure it'll be changed and adjust.
Sure. But
in the state of it right now, it's not, I can't sit there and advocate for it.
No, and I think the longer it goes unaddressed, it's not that the problem gets bigger, but it's that like the sentiment gets lower. And this is something I've been like trying to figure out a little bit more too, which is probably a longer conversation about like what the community looks like in Sorare, specifically Sorare NBA, because I don't know if there is, and I could be wrong. I'm in my own bubble, right? But I don't know if there is this sense of like a Sorare NBA community, as it's more of like the Swingman Pod community, the George community, like Top Tier Projection and Billy Jackson's community, Sorare Data. Like it almost feels a little bit more like it's those third party group communities. But anyways, the more that this lingers on a little bit, it's those types of people who are like diehard Sorarians, if you want to call them, that are getting hammered with it. And I think like, again, even if, like, let's be honest, even if they make adjustments to it, it's not like people are still going to be pissed off because that's just like how the world works. But I do think there is this like tipping point that we're approaching here.
So I think, right. So to answer that one in general of that where we're going in terms of community space, I think they made a great push towards the start of this year and also towards the back end of trying to get more sort of dedicated Sorare, like people that play and are content creators for Sorare to be involved within them. And I think that's great because like you can go out and you can hire all these influencers that talk about Sorare, but then never really play the game, and you can tell the people that play the game can tell. But at the same time, they're the people that are going to bring new people onto the platform. Essentially, people that are watching a Sorare video right now, they're not going to be new users.
Right, they're already there.
That's that's ultimately it.
I totally agree with you, man. I've been trying to explain that to other people too, because they're like, well, dude, you're an affiliate. You get an impact link. And I'm like, yeah, that's great one time.
If they send the right link and all, but
oh my mother. Did you have a problem with that, by the way? Did that affect any of you?
Yeah. So, and it's just bad. Like, luckily, I didn't even notice it. It was TST that, like, he sent me a DM and he was like, by the way, you know that link doesn't work properly because I've had issues with it. And I was like, oh no. I then checked it all. And then the affiliates team come back and was just like, yeah. Oh, by the way, there's this link for existing people. And I'm like, right.
I mean, we probably should be talking about this offline, but their initial response to me was like, oh yeah, I should have realized that. And I was like, how?
I think, again, it's the first time they've done it. So they didn't have like processes in place and they'll learn from it. But it's something that has to be highlighted because then otherwise it could go, it could happen again. And that's unacceptable to happen because like relatively speaking, we're not like Worldwide Wob or we're not Bryson who are going to have a bigger outreach. And if they had 15 people do it, all buy cards and then didn't get the $40 back, ultimately it's probably on them that's going to look really bad from it. And that's
right. I mean, I've made $0 off of So Rare this year. I did really well last year, 0 this year. And then I spent like 5 hours answering questions from my community based on that link. And I was like, man, I could have, if I was working at Old Navy, I would have made at least like $42 today. But anyways, it's enough of that. But I do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But just arcing back to the whole sort of where Rare is right now. It's a tough one because I do sympathize because everyone was like, yeah, reduce the scarcities, reduce the mint counts. And it's down, it is 10% of what it was last year. So it is literally like there is a tenth of the supply, which means the rewards are going to have to go. But I do think in doing that, I would have liked to have thought they would have had the ideas and the thinking of that, okay, this is how we can do it. So it doesn't sort of like suck for people that don't have an unbelievable rare gallery. Because like I've won a few times, but I've been, like I've had a couple of tier 3s and like I've been close to like podium in once, right? Which is great. And that's better than far many more people are doing. So I'm not moaning at it. But I also think even if you had things like the club shop with coins, if you was just winning, if you was hitting a score and you win some amount of coins over the past 11 game weeks, you would now have a balance that you could think, oh, I haven't won a card, but at least I have this for when the shop launches that I can then go and buy a jersey, an NBA voucher, a league pass, or something like that. Like that's the issue with it as well right now.
Well, and you know what's funny, because this is like a similar conversation I've had about Top Shot like 2 years ago, where this becomes a problem one of two ways, right? Where like you would like to think I trust a lot of the people. I met a lot of them. They're really sharp people, right? So I'm assuming they knew this. They knew they're like, hey, we're really cutting down on the rewards and we don't have the shop ready. So this is going to be a problem. So that means they either knew this might be a problem and they were like, we'll just wait till they complain about it. Or they didn't know it was going to be a problem. And that's just as concerning. Like either way, it feels not great to recognize that this was going to be an issue. And then we'll just be like, well, with nothing we can do, we'll wait and see. That's bad. And then to not see it and now react to it now is also bad. So it's like either way, not great, you know?
I reckon, and again, like none of us know. We're
just spitting. We don't know.
And I totally agree. The guys that I've met from So Rare, they've all like, and this sounds like such a fucking thing, but they've all been great. They all seem very sharp. Again, they're all very smart people. And they'd be very smart to employ us. But in any case, what we're looking at here is I think that they've seen with the super rare cuts down from 100 to 10, you saw an instant spike on secondary markets when that announcement was made because everyone was like, super rare supplies being cut, get in there now. And you even see the prices for them. They rose and they've stayed high. Mm-hmm. They've come down a little bit, but they've stayed high. If you look at rare and where rare is right now, it has not worked because the scarcity levels for the demand of it just isn't there at all. And that then has the knock-on effect with the limiteds because then people are like, well, I'm seeing what rare's doing. I'm worried. And then it barrels like that. And it all ultimately has this big old cycle. And I do think they'd have noticed this from super rare, but it just hasn't caught on. And then they've been like, oh my God, what do we do? And I think that's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah. And I would, maybe it's because I main character syndrome and I think I'm the most important, but I do think the rare tier is like the most important. Like your limited is your onboarding area. Like, yes, you have got your commons, but the limited is the first time anyone's spending any money. That obviously is important. The super rares, though, I feel like most people are financially comfortable. Not financially comfortable. They understand the risk and like you're putting a bag in there. You know what I mean? Yeah. The rare is, for the most part, people who are like, ooh, putting my big boy pants on, upgrading from limited. And if all of the people that have put their big boy pants on and have moved up to rare are just getting smoked, and not even just smoked because they're bad at constructing lineups, but just like mathematically, it doesn't make sense. That's no good. That's no good long term. I still trust the team to like make the necessary tweaks, but the tweaking needs to happen sooner rather than later would be my argument.
Yeah, I think and I haven't touched on this necessarily. Like I was going to do this as part of my like bigger, like this is what I would change.
Yeah,
like some idiot that plays the game. This is what I would do. And like to me, you're sitting there and currently right now I'm just double checking the numbers. There's nearly 100 rare cards that can be won not in rare competitions. So either in limited and super rare. To me, pull them out, push them into rare. That's a start. Mm-hmm. And then you can look at when you bring the coins in, when you bring potentially other sort of rewards. Like I don't think at this point we'd had the special sort of like win a jersey, win an NBA League Pass, win a voucher. We hadn't had that stuff yet.
Right.
But all of that stuff will come. There's no way that happens in season 1. And then when they go bigger and better in season 2, they go, oh, no,
They
can't
pull
have
it,
not doing that. There's going to be stuff coming. It's just that when people have like a negative mindset on of how the season started, they think it's all terrible. It's never going to improve. I guarantee you it will improve. Like people's mindsets in So Rare always goes like this. It's very sudden.
I think one of the troubling things, and again, I like, because I see, well, shut up, Billy Jackson, Mr. Top Tier Projections in the chat. I think they'll make tweaks in Rare too. I do. I 100% agree that they're going to make tweaks in the Rare. And I do think it's coming sooner rather than later. Or I hope so anyways. I think like, at least for me, I'll speak for me. I am conditioned to be frustrated in February and March. Right? Because I'm like, okay, we're deeper into the season now. It makes sense that the prices come down a little bit now, right? Because there's less games you're owning this card for in the most recent year. All of that makes sense to me. I think right now, at least from year 1, we're conditioned in November to be flying high. We're just a few weeks into the year. Everybody's very excited. Basketball is on the mind, all of that stuff. So I think this unexpected frustration about something is what is maybe a little bit harder. This is like Dr. Zakarian, therapist Zakarian sitting in right now. I just wonder if it's like hitting us a little bit.
Do I need to lie like this? Do I need to lie down?
Yeah, everybody get on a couch and then Venmo me $250 for the half-hour segment. But I wonder if that's part of it, right? Where we're just like, oh yeah, hey guys, relax. Prices go down in February. That's just how it works. But we're like, it's November.
I think as well, like, and maybe this is me. I've just seen it. I was literally about to speak about this. I saw Billy Jackson. Is Billy Jackson the guy that does the projections that you talk about?
Yeah.
So I saw him, and maybe this is me looking at it from like a degenerative point of view. But when I'm like, oh damn, these prices are pretty low right now. Can they get much lower? And I'm like, yeah, do I want to get involved in this a bit now? And I look, and I made some purchase to start the year for it. Like I went, but I mainly went and bolstered my limited stuff because I was like, I want the best guys in limited. I'm not ready to drop like $1,200 on a Luka, so I'm going to go and get his limited, and then I'll slowly improve in rare. That's how I've been doing. I've been buying like the mini MVPs. Like I was running Jaylen Brown as my MVP last year. Like, yeah, he's a plucky guy. But like, I think that ultimately speaking, they will change rare because there's no way they look at this current model and think everyone that's playing limited should then make the jump to rare. And as I've said before, there is no reason right now for anyone to do it.
No,
like there just isn't. And that's just speaking the whole truth. It's too hard to win in rare. You need a bigger gallery right now more than ever. You need a Jokic and like obviously how Embiid started the season, Jokic has started the season. You'll need these guys in any of the formats. But with how hard it is to win even something, it doesn't make sense right now. That's just ultimately it.
Yeah. And I totally understand too, probably from their perspective. They're like, you guys were all complaining that you were winning tier 5s. And like, you're like, oh, congrats. I got a Wesley Matthews. And like that. And they're right. They were like, you know what? We care more about scarcity. And I commend them for making the change too. I hope that they're able to make the necessary tweaks moving forward. Like the coins,
the issue that comes with that is in terms of people moaning about tier 5s. If then it is impossible to win anything, people then don't want to buy the cards, and that's and that's it. So
that's it. Yeah. But I that does feel probably more critical than any other appearance that we've done together, George. I feel like we've mostly been sunshine and rainbows.
I wouldn't even say that this is dark, stormy clouds.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think any time that I sort of want to criticize So Rare, and it's very rare since I've joined the platform as well. I don't think, and we've said this before, they're very, very agile normally to be like, hey, we got this wrong. We're going to change this. And I don't doubt that whatsoever. I feel it will be changed. And I think that people have this sort of look on the game that it's like, it's all going to pan in terms of rare. I really don't believe it. I think it will just, if we sit down, and we sit down every week now and every enough for this, so if I come on live before lock, if we're at past New Year and we're still talking about this, I would be gobsmacked. There's no way it will be.
Yeah. You know what though? We can't have another, I don't want another, hey guys, really good thing. We're cooking up some good stuff. Looking forward to reporting back in a couple weeks. Like, don't do that anymore.
I think if you're going to do stuff like that, you need to sort of give us something and then
Yeah.
say, "Oh, this is coming." Like, give us the amuse bouche, and then just save the main course if that's okay. Give us something.
Tell me that the scores will be updated for the IST daily time.
And the other thing as well is I don't know what's happening with collections right now.
Yeah.
And I know that this might be a sticking point for some people, but
Mm-hmm.
like I knew that this was going to come because I was like, it's on the football side. It's definitely going to go on the NBA side because it went well, and that seems to be what happens. So I went and bought a Philly collection. Like I went and bought like a Mac McClung for £8,
That's
knowing
what
that you're
Jeb
never
did
going to
too.
play.
Jeb did the same thing.
So I went and bought my Philly one, and it's sort of like I don't really care because I've still been able to use some of the Philly guys this year. But it's like, what was the point right now? Because there's no bonus to me spending that sort of random $30 on these cards to get a boost to my Joel Embiid that I then can't use. Like,
and I mean, I know it's still early in the season, but like truthfully, it's a fifth of the way. Like the IST is just about done. We're less than a month away from like the Christmas Day games, and then all of a sudden it's All-Star Game weekend and it's the playoffs. Like it moves pretty quickly, and like again, I can totally understand if they're like, "Hey, we're not ready yet. We're not going to roll out something that's broken." I totally get that, but I guess then my pushback would be like, "Well, we got to hold you accountable for not being ready to go." You know, so like be ready.
But ultimately, when we say hold them accountable, I'm still going to play this damn game. So ultimately speaking, nothing's going to happen. But it's just like I'm just frustrated is probably the thing for it. But
I might be. I'm still gonna play too. I might be moving some stuff over to limited. So because I've been exclusively a rare bro, and it's a tough scene over there. So
I mean, look, if we're talking ombre to ombre in this sense, I wouldn't be moving out of rare right now. This is the worst time to be going out of rare.
I know.
Like if I would, I know this the whole phrase of like hodling and holding. Right now is like a proper time to just sort of
just chill,
stay in there. Yeah,
I know. Well, we have to fund our Vegas trip that's right around the corner. So it might Anthony Davis MVP might be out the door. So I can see Anthony Davis in real life, unless they actually announce doing something for the finals. Then I will keep or the Final Four.
I'd be amazed if they don't do anything, even if it's just weekly special competitions, which is what they might revert to, as opposed to doing that as a month-long one. But
I'll be curious because like the regular season's still going on, right? It's not like they're pausing the regular season during that time.
Yeah.
This is real degenerate behavior. I've done this with Top Shot. I'm not gonna promote this again. So I've already taken this L one time, being like, now's the time. Sweep the floor.
Is this PTSD coming back? So
I'm shaking right now.
The cold sweats are coming.
Especially because everybody on my timeline who has been in Web3 the whole time is like, oh man, dude, we're about to fucking go to the moon.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
I know.
That whole vibe, right?
Everybody's so excited. All right, I think we hit most of the stuff for this week, man. It was good to be back. Is there anything else that we haven't really touched upon? I know I was ready to victory lap your 10th place finish, but we might have to wait until next week to see where you landed.
I think we wait. The last thing as well is I think this will help in terms of the market. And I don't know if I don't think it is live, but I think they mentioned it being a thing at like the start of season 2. List or play needs to be implemented like now. Like that should be here. That if that's not in the next update, that's a big concern because that doesn't seem like, again, that's going to be a big deal. That doesn't seem like that's a lot of work to do.
Right.
But all that does is stop people that are just going to play their lineups and then just list them immediately
right away
because they still stay in your team. Like, I could have sold my Luka and kept his 80 score, and that doesn't make sense with how Sorare works now. So that needs to that can't be delayed. That's like a priority numero uno for me.
Yes,
which probably meant I should have said it at the top, but yeah.
No, especially because they had already mentioned it. So I don't understand. Yeah, just like make that happen. I you know what, George, the last time I said I had you in the show notes and I hadn't tagged it properly, but you are in the show notes right now. So make sure everybody go check out Swingman Pod at Swingman Pod. If you haven't done that yet, I'll drop a link into the live chat as well. But anything you guys got cooking over there?
No, we've changed our our podcast platform for this year, and we're doing like NBA stock risers and stock fallers each week. So it's more of like an easier listen. we hope that like in terms of that we'll be able to sort of share and just share it. It's a little bit easier for us to sort of speak about in that regard. But we'll go through people that we think of having great weeks, having bad weeks.
Yeah.
Could be coaches, could be players, anything like that. That's the format that we're sticking to. So we normally do a podcast every week, maybe 2 weeks. So come and check it out. And then also obviously over there as well, I do the Sorare videos, 2 to 3 a week, probably minimum at the moment. So yeah. Big one. Thank you very much, Mike.
And Swingman, you guys are up to listen. You were on Live Before Lock a couple weeks ago. Just crossed the 600 threshold. We're now at 635. So go give them a like, a
Road
follow.
to 1,000. Road to 1,000.
Let's go. Yeah, go get those people paid. And if this is your first time here too, make sure you subscribe. We are a couple weeks old. We're at 244 right now. We love to see that. So slowly but surely. We have Shot Tank is back here tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern with we're doing an MVP conversation around So Rare, a year 2 to year 1 thing that Jeb was excited to talk about. And then what was the other thing? Oh, some underdog stuff because John Boy Beats has been like deep in it. So that'll be tonight. And then on this channel, we'll have Value Hunting on Thursday. That'll pop up. And then on Friday, Live Before Lock is back. And George, if you're around on Friday, come on back to Live Before Lock. I'd love to have you. If not,
I might be.
next time.
I might be. I won't throw my hat in the ring for it just yet, but I might be there.
You just let me know when you're ready. But yeah, go check out Swingman Pod. We good? Anything else? We good?
Yeah, I'm just going to cry when it updates and I'm not winning $1,200 that I shouldn't be winning. I think that's pretty much it.
I hope that instead of them figuring it out, they're like, this is going to take too much work, and they just give you 10.
No, because I don't want that. Because the amount of people that be like, damn, I should have won. Hang on, this guy should have been like 1,000th. How was he 10th? And then like, no, I don't want that.
You know what they'll do? They'll do the same thing they did to me in the So Rare Discord the other day. I put something in there, and John from the So Rare team responded. And somebody was like, wow, this guy only responds to famous people, which I was like, you need to Google what famous is.
Oh, is that the thing that was like, there was a guy that was like, yeah, the NBA needs people like Fiago and Nellis. And I saw you put something in there. So I was like, I'm not going to ride the coattails here. I'll put my stuff in there.
It was right after that. So I love the idea that if you had come in 10th because they didn't fix the updates, they'd be like, oh, they're just rewarding the whales.
The influencers. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
oh, man. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope you guys had a good time. If this was your first time here, we do this every Wednesday, sometime during the day on Wednesday, sometime during the day. It depends if Georgia's football team's out there making them sad, you know?
Sad, yeah.
All right, we'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We are out.